We welcome Pete Nakos, and we have an official term for when you drop recruiting news on social media or transfer portal news on whatever news you drop. You drop a lot of different kinds of news, sports business news, transfer portal. We're going to call them Nakosifications from now on, Pete.
I saw the Twitter reply and you were like, "That's it." And I was like, "Andy's tuned in, man. Andy is tuned in."
I love it. Nakosifications. So we've had quite a few Nakosifications here on Thursday. I want to start with two quarterbacks in the portal who may wind up in the same town. I don't think they're going to be there together, but in pretty rapid succession. DJ Uiagalelei, who's coming from Oregon State, Cam Ward coming from Washington State, both potentially visiting Florida State this weekend.
Yeah, they're both going to be there at very different times. Cam Ward, it's like 5. Cam Ward will be in Tallahassee tonight, and then DJU is expected to roll in Saturday after Cam leaves. Andy, we talk so much about this quarterback market and everything, and then all of a sudden, right now, the next 72 hours or so, Florida State's going to have the two best quarterbacks maybe in the portal in Tallahassee.
Well, and Cam Ward coming from Miami, right? So he's looked at them. That's one where, Shannon Dawson, the offense he runs, very similar to what Cam Ward came out of in Washington State. But Florida State, obviously, with the talent they have coming back, with how well they've done historically in the portal under Mike Norvell, I would imagine that's a pretty enticing thing for either of these guys.
Yeah, I mean, I think Cam Ward thinks he can play in both offenses really well, and I think the really interesting narrative here per se is the fact that ever since DJU went in the portal, he FSU was the school. It's always been. And then on the flip side, you have Cam Ward, who, I mean, Cam's been really open. The NFL is still an option. He's been at Miami. Talking to ESPN earlier today, he even mentioned a possible third visit, which could be at Nebraska or Washington. And it's just two very interesting narratives going up against each other, where DJ wants to be in Tallahassee and Florida State needs to look at Cam Ward, right? Because, I mean, the Cam Ward is a freak and might be a top draft pick in 2025. And Florida State would be doing a disservice if they didn't bring him in.
Well, right. And, DJ, a very different quarterback than Jordan Travis. But Cam, from a skill set perspective, probably can play a similar style to Jordan Travis, which I imagine Mike Norvell enjoyed calling plays for Jordan Travis, probably would enjoy calling plays for Cam Ward too.
Yeah, definitely. Just really interested to watch. I don't think we're going to even know anything until Sunday night. Because I do think they're going to get both on campus.
Couple possibilities here if we play this out. You could have DJU starting against Clemson, which would be storylines galore. If that happened, you'd also potentially have DJU starting against Cam Ward in an ACC game, Florida State, Miami.
Yeah. I think the crazier narrative to me, and this is a huge hypothetical and you'll laugh, but imagine if Cam Ward doesn't commit on that Miami visit, then commits soon after the FSU visit, and now Mario Cristobal has to completely look at his QB board all over again and try to get
DJ. What's up? Will Howard,
yes. I think it's Will Howard, but still, it just would be a crazy turn of events.
It is amazing. This is so much more interesting, I think, than the out of high school recruiting, just because we know these guys so well. And especially DJU. Think about DJU as a true freshman in 2020, replacing Trevor Lawrence at Notre Dame when Trevor had COVID. He's been in our lives for that long. He's got one more year of college football.
The coolest thing about DJ is those 2 years at Clemson just never really meshed the way I think DJ thought. And then you go see him at Oregon State this year and he crushed it, man. Everyone was it's a DJ problem at Clemson. And then he goes to the West Coast and DJ looks like the 5-star that we all knew he could be. And it's just cool to see that play out.
It'll be really interesting to see what happens, whose offense he ends up in and what he ends up doing. Another guy that you reported on this week is Kyle McCord. He said on Wednesday that Nebraska's off the table as an option for him. What are his options now?
Yeah, I think his market isn't exactly what a lot of us thought it'd be when he hit the transfer portal. I've heard Duke thrown around. I've heard Syracuse. Nothing really firm there. But yeah, really interesting position Kyle McCord finds himself in right now.
So yeah, he again started for Ohio State against Michigan less than 3 weeks ago. And now here he is casting about looking for a school. What happens with Ohio State now? Because this is one where they don't have to take a quarterback out of the portal. They have quarterbacks on the roster. They have Aaron Noland, who's a very highly recruited quarterback, coming with the signing class as well. But is it possible that they put out the bat signal and say, hey, guys in the portal, or even guys who are not in the portal, you might be able to be Ohio State's starting quarterback?
Yeah, so one thing we should make really clear is Kyle McCord will not be going back to Columbus. That is not on the table, just talking to sources and stuff. So anyone hoping to see Kyle McCord back in Columbus, that's not going to happen. The second thing I'll say, though, is I don't think Ohio State is dying to add a transfer portal quarterback right now. They've talked to DJ. Everyone was speculating about Cam Ward to Ohio State. That is not going to happen. They really wanted to get in on Riley Leonard. That just never came to be, I think, as they had hoped to. So, yeah, I think they're going to stay pat. They got Devin Brown. They have Lincoln Keenholz. They're adding Aaron Noland in January. And they're really high on Lincoln, who is a true freshman and will be a sophomore and probably challenge Devin Brown for the starting job if everything plays out the way it is right now.
And the bowl game, Devin Brown's game, though.
Yeah, I mean, I think Devin admitted it in conversations with the media early this week, and it makes sense. He has game experience, but I'm sure Ryan Day would love to get Lincoln maybe a couple snaps too, just to get some film to look at as we enter the offseason.
Yeah, that's a pretty big job to have open, and until that Nakosification that Kyle McCord wasn't going to be there, we assumed it was going to be Kyle McCord. So let's talk about another guy who generating a ton of buzz, even though he's not really been a QB1 anywhere yet. He has started a couple games. Malik Murphy, coming from Texas. This is a situation where he has decided that he's not going to be with the Longhorns through the playoffs. So Arch Manning moves into the backup role behind Quinn Ewers. And what is the thinking here with Malik Murphy? Because he's one that after spring practice last year could have entered the portal and had a ton of buzz as well.
Yeah, I think we were all kind of bracing for that, but Malik stayed, and obviously he stepped in this year when Quinn went down, and really tough situation where he can't be with Texas right now for the college football playoff. Andy, you and I were kind of talking about it before. I think that the truth is, though, is that he is really highly sought after right now. He has a great market. Pete Thamel put out like 8 to 10 schools to watch today. I think really early on before we're like, these are the top 3 or something, but definitely has a lot of interest. His athletic ability is insane.
Yeah, and the arm is great. The turnovers that were the question, but again, that was his first couple games as a starter. How does he grow? How does he develop? And that's one, you mentioned Pete Thamel put out several teams. Ohio State was on that list. Georgia was on that list. It does feel like he's one that's going to draw interest from those kind of places because there's 3 years of eligibility remaining.
Yeah, I mean, USC and South Carolina both made it too, which was interesting to see. But yeah, I think the eligibility, he has experience in the Steve Sarkisian offense. He pushed Quinn Ewers. I mean, I think Malik has everything that a lot of offense coordinators and quarterback coaches are looking for. And right, we talk about dual threat and everything. Like, he is the great college quarterback right now. Like, he is the prototype to an extent of what college coaches want in a quarterback.
Yeah, physically everything you want. Yeah. Now, whether that comes together, it remains to be seen. But in terms of raw tools, yeah, he's exactly what you want. So that market definitely appears to be robust. Hey, would you like to go to the Arizona-Purdue game in Indianapolis? Perhaps the biggest college basketball game so far this season, you can do it with Game Time. That's right. Plenty of tickets available, good seats, Bankers Life Fieldhouse. You're very close to a certain steakhouse with a certain shrimp cocktail, and potentially, again, the best college basketball game of the regular season so far. Maybe you want to go to the Sugar Bowl. Maybe you want to go to the Rose Bowl, see the college football playoff. So you want to see Texas, Washington in New Orleans? Well, go to Game Time. You download that app. You can look exactly where your ticket would be. You see the vantage point from the seat you would have, and a couple more taps, and that seat is yours. By the way, if you use the code STAPLES when you buy that ticket, you will get $20 off your first purchase. So download the Game Time app, code STAPLES, $20 off your first purchase. Also, you want to go see an NFL game for $9? That's right. The Falcons and the Panthers playing this weekend in Charlotte. Game Time has a ticket for $9 right now. Unbelievable. So download Game Time. Use that code STAPLES. $20 off your first purchase. I don't know how that works if the ticket is only $9. Buy a ticket for a friend. Then, you can use the whole discount. I think that's the best way to do it. Go to Game Time. Code STAPLES. $20 off your first purchase. Another market another guy, we'll move away from the quarterbacks for a second because I want to talk about Trey Moore, who is one of those guys coming from a group of 5 school at a position that is very valuable in the transfer portal. So he's an edge rusher. He's at UTSA. This is, you kind of wonder if Marcus Davenport had been able to take advantage of these transfer rules before he became a first rounder from UTSA. So Trey Moore, you reported that Ohio State called off a visit with Trey Moore, basically getting good news from their defensive lineman from an NFL perspective. But Trey Moore headed to visit Alabama now.
Yeah. So Ohio State did call off that visit, talked to a couple sources at Ohio State, and it was made pretty clear to me that the Buckeyes were the ones who called it off. And I think Texas is still the one to beat right now for Trey Moore, but he is going to visit Alabama this weekend. And man, could you imagine him in a Nick Saban defense?
Oh, yeah. And that's the thing. They have had better pass rushers in the last few years at Alabama than they had previously under Nick Saban. Like Will Anderson obviously was off the charts good, but Dallas Turner and Chris Braswell this year, very good. Like you throw another person in there like that, and it does help Alabama kind of continue rolling. But Texas is an interesting one as well, because I feel like they would be pretty formidable off the edge if you add a Trey Moore.
And I think the big attraction too for Texas is obviously Trey Moore has proven himself, but Texas also has to make that jump to the SEC next year, and Trey Moore can make that a lot easier with his pass rush ability.
Yeah, because they've got Ethan Burke coming back, and they were using Anthony Hill a lot, in pass rush situations. If you add another kind of elite pass rusher, that is a scary prospect for opposing offensive tackles. So one school that seems to be very active, and I think we may have them number 1 in our team transfer portal rankings at the moment, is Louisville. They are, they got the offensive tackle from Yale. They got Thor Griffith, the D tackle from Harvard. Tyler Shook, the quarterback from Texas Tech. You reported that Colin Lacey, the South Alabama receiver transfer, who everybody thought was going to Texas A&M, that he's visiting Louisville.
Yeah, Andrew Cord Brooks is getting to campus tonight, though.
Alabama, yeah.
Louisville has it together. And let's be blunt, Andy. I think Louisville has done a fantastic job getting its NIL operation in place the last 6 months. They knew the portal was coming. Jeff Brom is all in at Louisville. They figured out the NIL. They have it going strong. And even just talking to sources the last 24 hours, there was hope that Cam Ward would be on campus this weekend.
Wow.
That's not going to play out the way they were hoping, and that's okay. They have some elite wide receiver talent coming in, but I think it's just evidence of how the Cards have it rolling, man.
Yeah, and this, you knew when Jeff Brom got there, he was going to get him going, but I feel like he got him going faster because they were better on the field this year than we thought they were going to be. And now roster construction-wise, this looks like it could be one of the better rosters in the ACC by next year.
Yeah, I don't think anyone entering the year expected them to be in the ACC title game. I didn't.
No.
But yeah, I mean, even if they just like get a Ja'Cory Brooks or a Colin Lacey, I mean, that is a wide receiver one for the Cardinals. Maybe, I mean, at least someone who's definitely going to make an impact. And they also had the UCF cornerback Corey Thornton in.
Mm-hmm.
Had 3 interceptions this year. So yeah, I think they're doing a heck of a job bringing talent.
You can say a hell of a job on this show. It sounds like they are doing a hell of a job. But I want to switch now to one of my favorites. I was very excited to find out where this guy was going. So Curtis Rourke, the Canadian Cannon, leaving the Ohio U Bobcats. He lands with Kirk Cignetti and the Indiana Hoosiers.
Yeah, I exchanged messages with Curtis after his commitment, and I mean, he was awesome at Ohio, right? He 2022 NAC Offensive Player of the Year, had a great arm. But similar to his brother Curtis, who's now on the Jacksonville Jaguars roster, I mean, it's all about NFL development in this decision, and he thinks Indiana can really fit what he wants to do and develop, and he's going to be an NFL-esque offense at IU, and he really thinks that this is going to be able to elevate him.
Yeah, it is. It'll be fascinating. Speaking of Kirk Cignetti, he was James Madison coach. We got Jordan McLeod still in the transfer portal, his quarterback from JMU, who started at USF, went to Arizona, went to JMU. I don't think Jordan McLeod's a grad, so he can hop around as much as he wants. He doesn't need the temporary restraining order on the transfer rules, but it does sound like he's taking full advantage of the transfer rules.
I would be stunned to see him land at Indiana too. I think it'd make a lot of sense, but I guess we'll see how that plays out.
Yeah, that'll be interesting. I did want to ask you about, because you cover the business of college sport as well, all of the NIL and the different rules changes that are going on. That court case in West Virginia, which feels like it's impacting basketball quite a bit more now, but a temporary restraining order issued in federal court basically against the NCAA's transfer rules. So there's a 14-day window where they don't apply. There might be a permanent injunction issued in 2 weeks. We'll find out. But is that potentially going to affect anybody in football right now, or is that more of a basketball situation right now?
You know, the NCAA came out with a statement today saying that if an athlete did play and then the NCAA ended up winning a court case, that they would be penalized their 1 year of eligibility. I feel like quite a few phone calls today from a slew of people, and I had to politely tell them, like, I don't know if your player needs to go here, or I don't know if that's the best decision, because I would really just wait to see how this case plays out.
Yeah, that's the thing, and it's really 2 weeks. So what it would be with football is if you have a bowl game between now and the 27th, and you just sort of got to figure that out. One that was interesting to me, and I checked with Florida State on this one, because Darrell Jackson, he had transferred from Miami this past year, from Maryland to Miami before that, and he was denied his waiver. Well, because of when he transferred to Florida State, he actually can play in the Orange Bowl because he's been at Florida State a year now. So he has fulfilled the requirement. And so the defensive tackle, that Florida State had hoped, and just imagine if he'd played for that defense with Fisk and Jared Verse on that defensive line.
That'd be crazy.
So but he's playing in the Orange Bowl.
That's awesome for him. I think what has happened in this court case has left a lot of people confused. The NCAA double backed on its statement from yesterday. Which was like, I mean, what if a player played last night because of it? Like, I'd have to go look in on that.
Several did. There was I believe a UNLV basketball player who played and scored like 14 points. And so that is it's going to be a very interesting time. And you've been covering all this stuff, for the last couple of years, but I just feel like if that permanent injunction gets issued in 2 weeks, it's basically open season on every NCAA rule if you're a plaintiff's attorney.
Yeah, I mean, and not to go all big picture. I mean, we're at a breaking point right now, Andy, right? Like, we cannot. It's not good for college athletes to have the NCAA rule book picked apart in open court, right?
One by one. Yeah, exactly.
And this is not my open campaign for Congress to step in. My point is, though, it's just evidence of a broken system that definitely needs to be remodeled somehow.
Yeah, somebody needs to go get together in a room and try to build it up from scratch. I don't think getting the federal government to do it for them is the smartest idea, because
I
they
agree.
tend to put in things you might not want. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see what happens going forward, because if this judge issues that permanent injunction in 13 days, they're going to have to understand that this is it. Like, you got to rebuild the system after that. So we'll have a lot to talk about and write about.
Yeah, a lot to talk about.
So, Pete, back to the transfer portal though. Like, what are you most looking forward to over the weekend, in the next week, to finding out from the transfer portal?
It's Cam Ward, man. It's like, is he gonna go to the NFL? I mean, I continue to talk to people who keep saying like the NFL is a viable option, and I don't want to jump ahead of it, but like, what if he goes on these visits and he still wants to go to the NFL? Like, you're going to leave quite a few schools like really scratch. I don't think that's going to happen, but I still think it's a real option. So just finding out what Cam Ward's going to do and have these quarterback dominoes fall. Really want to see what Lincoln Riley does at USC. Does he bring a quarterback? I mean, he's been pounding on the door at some places, and they still have Malachi Nelson. So how does that play out? And then the last thing is Arizona State. I know it's really random, but they did bring in a quarterback. Does Jaden Rashada stay put? Does he not?
I saw his dad Harlan had an Instagram post this week that had the little circle, the loading. So I don't know what that means. I've written quite a bit about that situation with Jaden Rashada, with Miami, with Florida, with Arizona State. We'll see what happens, but you're right. Kenny Dillingham has been talking to some quarterbacks in the transfer market, and we'll see what it means. But if it means Jaden Rashada is in the transfer market, boy howdy, that could be another fun recruitment to follow.
We're just getting started if that happens.
Exactly. Pete Nakos, thank you for the multitude of Nakosifications today.
Thank you, Andy.
Thank you so much for watching. Just a reminder, subscribe to this channel right here so you never miss an episode of Andy Staples on 3. And oh, by the way, watch all the other great videos on the On3 Sports YouTube channel.